So, another day, another review, but today will be a good day because today is NZXT day and that's usually a good day. This episode is brought to you by CDKoffers.com. CDKoffers offers a wide variety of software or game keys for a fraction of their usual retail price. You can get your usual PC game codes or even library codes for things like Steam, Uplay and Origin. But the most important part for us are the software codes. Here we can get software activation codes for things like MS Office or Windows 10 for a ridiculously cheap price. And right now you can also use the promo code TS20 to get a 20% discount to make the already cheap Windows 10 license even cheaper. If you want to get that nasty activation message away, make sure to head down to the links in the description below and don't forget to use the promo code TS20 for a 20% discount. So, what we have here today is the NZXT H510i, one of NZXT's main cases, but with that i variant. And what that means is that we have two little additional things in here, one being a vertical GPU mounting option and the other one being two RGB strips with the controller. But before I spoil anything, let's go over the features. It's a mid-tower case with support for up to 80x motherboard size. The case comes in three different color options: matte black, matte white and matte black with red accents. We can hook up to two SSDs in the brackets behind the motherboard and one additional inside of the hard drive cage. Alternatively, we can also use two 3.5-inch drives inside of the cage and place one additional one on top. As a nice little addition, the hard drive cage can be unscrewed from the bottom and repositioned a bit to the left or to the right, or simply be removed. For the fans, we can install a total of four. One 120mm in the back, one 120 or 140 in the top, and two 120s or two 140s in the front. For the water cooling enthusiasts, we can add a 120 radiator in the back and a up to 280 radiator in the front. Out of the box, the top and back fan spots are already pre-filled with NZXT's Air F110 fans, which can spin at 1200 RPM while pushing around 50 CFM and yelling at 28 dB. The H510 supports CPU coolers that are up to 165mm high. For the GPU, you can use one that's up to 381mm long or 325 if you're using a radiator in the front. The front I/O is up to date with a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A 3.2 Gen 2 Type C and a 4-port audio jack for audio in and out. We have a total of 9 reattachable PCIe expansion slots, 7 of which are horizontal and 2 of which are vertical. So vertical GPU installations are supported out of the box as long as you bring your own PCIe riser. Inside of the case, you'll find a little NZXT box in which you will find the usual screws, standoffs, manual, a couple of zip ties and a 4 to 3 pole jack adapter, so that you can also use the front audio in and out with whatever audio device you want and a separate mic. The NZXT H510 stands on big rigid feet with rubber pads underneath, and then of course a tempered glass side panel. Okay, with the usual stuff out of the way, let's get to even more features that I want to talk about a bit more. Let's start off with the cable management. Until now, I had a look at a couple of budget-oriented cases and one showcase, so having a higher tier consumer product is really refreshing for me. Not only does the H510i provide cable cutouts all around the mainboard, but they also include one of these cable hiding plates. Additionally, by removing 5 of the screws behind the motherboard, you will be able to reposition it a bit to the right or to the left. If that wasn't enough, the case also includes full-on cable tracks for the 24-pin, some additional cables and the CPU cable, with additional Velcro strips. So when it comes to cable management, it's as good as it gets. Nothing more than I could have wanted, just on point. Another really nice feature is the built-in RGB. We have 2 strips that are pre-installed, one at the top of the case and one hidden behind the cable hiding bracket. And because one of the strips is hidden inside of that bracket, you will need to be very carefully when you try to reposition it. Remove the screws, move it left or right, no issue. But just don't rip it out, you will break the cable. Okay, now these strips are connected to that little box in the back of the case, which NZXT just originally called the Smart Device version 2. That little box can control up to 2 of these hue-enabled strips and 3 PWM or voltage-controlled fans. At least according to the spec sheet, because one of the fan ports is already hooked up to a 123 PWM splitter, so you can hook up even more. Even though these little fan controllers are nothing unusual these days, the Smart Device V2 is not bad. It's powered by SATA, which is not always given, believe me, and can be controlled with a USB header. And this is the point where NZXT's CAM software comes in. You don't need to use any fan header, and your mainboard doesn't even need to have RGB ports. You just connect it to a USB header, which every mainboard has, and you are good to go. Install NZXT CAM and do whatever you want, change the fan speeds, change the color, it just works, everything out of the box. Beautiful. Okay, there is also something else that I have not seen until now. I knew it exists, but not yet. And I don't know how common this is with higher end cases, but I definitely want this to become the absolute standard. You see, these little case buttons here and the light cables and all, they are probably the least enjoyable part of building a gaming rig, probably for everybody out there. Now, these cables are not part of the H510i, these are just an adapter because the case itself comes with all of these wires nicely fitted into a single header. I mean, that's such a relief, such a small little upgrade, but it made my day. I'm really enjoying this case. So, another thing that I wanted to address is the disassembly process, because believe it or not, I had to go through the manual, even though I have a ton of cases. The back panel is removable like any other case. Unscrew the 2 screws, pull it away and you're good to go. But the glass in the front is a bit different. There is only one small little thumb screw in the top and then nothing. No, it's actually quite simple, but the first time I've done it, I literally thought I would be breaking the glass. Just keep that metal piece tight in the back and then just pull away from the case. You see, we have these little rubber knobs on the top of the glass and you just need to pop it. And from there you can just simply remove the glass. It's that easy. It's just the first time it's a bit different. The front is also not the most standard thing I've seen so far. The top and the front portion of the case are just one single big piece of metal, so there is really nothing that could be removed. Now, in order to install the front fans or the front radiator, you would need to do something else. You see, inside we have that bracket that keeps everything in place, and you would just need to remove the 2 thumb screws and then... come on. Pull it out. And from here you can install your radiator, your fans and whatnot, and then just slide it back in and you're done. It's that easy. Okay, and now when we're really talking about cooling, let's take a look at that. The front gets its air from either an opening on the side or from the bottom. Both air vents have a really nice and easily removable fabric dust filter. The same is true for the air intake on the PSU. Just grab it, pull it, and you can clean it. And at this point, I just want to know how freakishly oversized the PSU intake is. Really good. The back and top fan spots do not have any air filter. But even though this may not be ideal, you would still use both spots normally as exhaust, so you wouldn't pull any dust in anyway, so that's not that big of a deal. Now, what I think about the airflow and the performance overall, we'll see later on in the benchmarks. But for now, let's put a system in here. Okay, after having built this, I love it. The cable management is amazing. After removing the hard drive cage, there was just no issue whatsoever to fit all the cables in. The cable routes in the back with their Velcro ties made it so freakingly easy to do a clean build. That little intelligent controller in the back is also quite a relief to use. Just hook it up to the mainboard and use whatever NZXT RGB device you want and it will just show up in CAD. Not that I'm a fan of another manufacturing software, but if you are going all NZXT anyway, it's just a great addition. You'll get a fan and RGB controller with a actually working software for free. That's not bad. So the case in general was a great experience, especially because the H510i got a really good build quality. Everything feels sturdy, the feet are massive, they are rigid, the whole case is rigid and nothing moves what it's not supposed to. Great! On a small side note, NZXT did not try to save anything on the packaging. I know it doesn't change anything about the case itself, but having invested some time and money into the packaging can already get you that premium feeling and positive feeling while unboxing it. On the design side, it's a hit or miss, like always. For what I could tell until now, NZXT is always trying to get that clean and simple look, a bit like an Apple product. Not too much of anything, but what is there looks good. I really like it, especially paired with the NZXT Kraken X53. I think it does look very good, but in the end it will always be up to you. Now let's talk about the cooling performance, because the first time I unboxed this, I thought that the number one thing that they saved on here is airflow. The top only comes with one fan and the front airflow is redirected to the side and going through a mesh filter and a couple of holes in the case. And in the past, cases that did not have frontal airflow did not perform very well, but it did. With the usual case test and 3 P12s, the H510i managed to keep the CPU at 63 degrees C, just 1 degree short of the two frontal cases. When filling up every fan spot, the H510i came out with 61 degrees C, so still on the second place. But because the case also comes with two fans pre-installed, we thought it would only be fair to include a out-of-the-box test. And with the NZXT fans in the back and top, the CPU stayed at 62 degrees C. But don't forget that in this case, the top and back fan almost touched the CPU cooler, which is why it performed so well compared to the standardized test. So overall, the cooling performance in here is actually pretty good. But that's not the only thing. The mesh filters that NZXT use are extremely well built. Every single one of them is removable with simple clips. Amazing. And this leads us to the what could have been better part, and there is actually not that much to say. The only thing that really stood out to me immediately is the top airflow. Not only would I have preferred to mount two fans in there, but the cutout that they provide looks kinda cheap. It is still sturdy and all, but I would have preferred to have it slightly pressed into the case and then top it off with one of these magnetic filters. This wouldn't have helped with any dust as long as the fans are blowing out, but I don't know, it would have just looked better. Another small point that you would need to keep in mind while using this case is that you won't be able to place it directly against the wall, because the main air intake is on the right side of the case, and you will basically just choke your system to death. And this cannot be fixed. If you are going with side airflow, this will happen. You would have to change the complete air concept to get that fixed. So yeah. But besides from these two remarks, great case. I love it and I can really recommend it to everybody. Right now the NZXT H510i is going for around $100 or €100, and I will include some manufacturer and affiliate links down below. If you want to read more about the case, I will also include a link to our written review over on the website. So this should be it for today, but if you want to keep watching, maybe have a look at the Azacast 450, one of my favorites. Okay, thank you for watching and see you on the next one.